Hello and welcome to another episode of Sunday Reading. This is episode 3, and the publication we're going to be discussing today is Various Midwestern Homes from Midwestern photographer Nathan Pearce. I've followed Nathan for quite a while now, and he's incredible in the amount of publications that he produces. He is constantly coming out with new bodies of work, and they're all collected in a very similar manner to this. I'll include some information about Nathan Pearce in the description below, as well as a link to his shop. I don't believe you can purchase this specific zine anymore, but he does always have something for sale. This zine is it's a half sheet, so it's 8.5 inches tall, 5.5 inches across or wide, and it's staple bound. You can see that it's cut. It's not a bound zine by any means. It's just a stapled collection of images. A lot of Nathan's zines follow this bare bones model in which he really focuses simply on getting the content out there. And as all of his images are black and white, he's a black and white photographer. It's a focus on the quantity of content as it pertains to the environments in which he shoots. So, for those, if this is your first episode, in this I've earmarked a few images that we'll go over. I don't show the entirety of the zine simply out of respect for the photographer and to keep some of the discovery of this series of images up to you as the viewer. But one thing you'll notice here as we open it up, there's no description or anything. It's simply Various Midwestern Homes. Nathan Pearce is a very literal photographer. All of his zine titles follow this same pattern of simply describing what's on the inside. There's no need for further description. He doesn't go into any sort of depth in terms of why he was photographing. It's all treated as assumed knowledge. It's something that by the time you were finished with this body of work, you have an understanding briefly of who he is, but really when it comes to Nathan Pearce, I think the biggest thing to understand is that you don't treat any individual publication as a complete. Each publication that he produces is another one in a larger ongoing discussion that he has. So to put it kind of in perspective, if a normal photographer is someone who is going to take a single image and then potentially put that together in a publication as a series, that relationship of one photograph to the series can kind of be extrapolated for Pearce. His single photograph is the single publication, and his series is his entire body of work. And everything, every publication speaks to one another in terms of how the images are built and how he interacts with his subjects. So jumping in here, as I said, all the photographs are black and white. It's simply Xerox publication. Only one image per page, and this is a constant throughout the theme, and then each image takes up this upper half of the photo, so kind of a quarter sheet in terms of overall size. Due to how it's bound, they often kind of cut in, so you really don't get the full image. You can kind of see it there if I tilt it, but as if you're reading it as anyone normally would, this is really all you see. And so there's this kind of weird incompleteness about each individual photograph that really ties into how I feel that he works. So as I was just discussing, you never get the full story out of one publication, and similar here with the image. Each image is extending beyond the binding here. Not necessarily literally, but in spirit, and it creates this continuous drive to turn to the next page, turn to the next publication. But the reason that I pulled up this photo in particular, let me bring, because these ones are a little smaller, I'll bring it a little bit closer and get it more in the frame here. One thing actually really quick I do want to touch on is that print quality for being a Xeroxed photo is incredibly good. Whether or not that's happenstance, whether he's reducing the contrast or doing anything in post-production to ensure they come out nicer here, it's arguably one of the best Xerox photos that I've ever seen. The reason I pull this up is because this photograph for me in this series, and as it relates to the other images of these various Midwestern homes, this one to me is a very neutral photo. And what I mean by that is that it kind of takes everything that we can expect to see within the publication as a whole and presents itself as an average. So what I mean by that is when we start to look at how the home is framed, you have, with the sidewalk that wraps up into this tree here, and you have this very prominent vertical tree trunk as well. This is the kind of thing that we can come to expect from Pearce. He focuses solely on the subject. He presents it entirely at face value. It's not something that's hidden in mystique. It's something that simply exists and wants to exist as it is. And so the elements that go into this home, we can see in so many of these other images. These are the things that he is looking for to retain that consistency from photo to photo and from publication to publication. And so moving on here to our second photograph, you can see what I mean. Once again, very strong vertical lines that are often sitting in front of the subject itself. So it's whether or not that's something that's specifically sought after. I see it really as an intent to keep a separation between the fore, middle, and background. There's an effort to really make sure that the subject is placed exactly where it is intended to be. If the tree, say for example, may have been in the background as well, this guy right here, no longer would you have had this distinct separation, and the home itself could have been really anywhere. It wouldn't have mattered where within the frame it sits, but we have such a focused representation that it really allows us to get a good understanding of kind of the environment around it. I'm going to move on here again. So, similar to how the other photographs have those large trees, we have a lot of bushes here. Sorry, I'm trying to just get this in a better position. These bushes, once again, allow the house to sit and exist as it's supposed to exist. It's a relationship that we see within the photograph and within Nathan's photography, just through and through with every single publication that he puts together. Things, and when I say things, I truly do mean objects, physical objects as they exist in our world. They're presented entirely as they are meant to be. A house is a great example of this. When we think about the architecture and the intent that goes into the design of a house, where's it meant to be viewed from? It's meant to be viewed from the sidewalk or from the road as you kind of drive by it. And so you have this very head-on, this perpendicular to the face of the house viewpoint for each one of these. And so what does that really mean then as we start to consider other aspects within the photograph, such as these bushes? This is not an intentional design choice, obviously, right? It's been overcome, it's been overwhelmed, and it's a byproduct of the absence of really humanity. And the absence of humanity as a theme within Nathan's work is incredibly persistent. And then as we go to the last image here, this one's going to be this is on the next page actually, and it's quite a contrast as we turn the page here to a very very manicured lawn. Despite it, even though it's black and white, you can tell that it's very clearly dead in a lot of spots. But you have these hedges that are very neatly trimmed. Everything in this photograph, with the exception of this, I believe, looks like a water can. I can't exactly tell. Is pushed back, is pushed behind. The owner, wherever they may be, whether they're in the house or whether they're out right now, has an intent that they want in terms of how their home is presented, and that simply unspoken existence of humanity here is such a wonderful contrast when we compare it to the previous photograph. And these types of pairings, these types of images exist throughout his entire publication and through all of his publications. So that is a brief kind of overview and discussion of the publication Various Midwestern Homes from Nathan Pearce. Again, I'll include a link to Nathan's website and to his shop as well, because once again, although I don't know that you'll be able to buy this, you'll probably be able to pick up at least one of his zines or one of his publications. So I want to thank you for watching. Please be sure to subscribe. A new Sunday reading is out every Sunday morning where we will go over more and more publications. Next week we'll get out of the Midwest and we'll start looking at some other stuff. But thank you for watching. Please be sure to subscribe to me on social media. I've included links below. And until next time.